Hello. Hello.
Hello, Dominique. How are you doing?
CYRWA, you can go ahead.
Dominique, can you hear me? Precious, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Apparently, Dominique, are you hearing us?
I don't think she can hear us.
Yeah, I don't think so. She's looking.
Are you hearing me, CYRWA, and Precious?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hey.
Can you hear us, Dominique? We can't hear you. Can you talk a bit? We can't hear you. Are you hearing us? Hello, Dominique. Are you hearing us? No. Why? We can't.
I can see that her mic is on mute.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Write it down. Her mic is on mute.
Yeah. And I can't unmute it.
Let's wait for her again. She is trying to see what is the problem.
Okay.
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? No.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on. She say, hello, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
She says she has just restarted her laptop to see if it's.
Paul,
Yes.
are we recording it live?
Hello, who is this? Hello, was that Cynthia?
No, not really. Cynthia is not here.
Who is this?
But she said she's coming. It's CYRWA.
Okay. Who was asking if we are recording this live?
I was the one asking.
Who is this?
CYRWA.
CYRWA.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Dominique is here, but her mic is still on mute.
Okay. Yes, it's no longer on mute. Yes, this is okay. Are you hearing us, Dominique?
Yes. Is this music?
Yes. So now we can start. Okay. We can go
Yes.
live.
I can't hear you. The music is a little loud.
Let me do this. Sarah Bell, go ahead.
Okay, so welcome back, Dominique. Sorry for the disruptions. So we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and we are going to start in a few. Okay, so just to give you a brief background on the Queens of Alkebulan, we are a subsidiary of the CYRWA, that is the Young Women in Entrepreneurship and Leadership, and we deal with hosting Gen Z with millennial women who are doing quite well in their fields of practice. So today with us we have Dominique Uwase Alonga. Dominique is a multi-potentialite female, quite the trend maker and trendsetter. She has made deliberate steps towards beating the odds and establishing herself. So, Dominique, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, perhaps just to give us a background on who you are and what you do. Who is Dominique and how has your journey been so far?
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. My journey is a little bit disorganized. I think I started my company at 22 years old here in Kigali, and it was mostly, I would say, not even a company, as it was just a kind of after work passion project. And basically, I just wanted to create a dent or create my own improvement in the education system in Rwanda, and support any way that I could. But that was mostly after school or most after work project. So I didn't think that it would become something what it became today. Definitely was not my plan, and I was not. I definitely won't be arrogant to think that I had planned it. It was just something that worked out. I am also an author. I'm a podcast host. I also have a massive passion in supporting women and really just showing women what's possible for us, because a lot of times we are not led to believe that things are possible for us, or that we can do something with our money, with our knowledge, with our talent and skills. So my current after work is to support women. Since work is now, my past after work is now work, so I have a new after work. So that's really supporting women, really making sure that women are
Dominique,
Sorry for that, Dominique. Sorry for that. We wanted to have you on a solo. Go ahead.
Okay. Shall I repeat what I said?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Dominique. I am a Rwandan, and I own Imagine We Rwanda, which is a social enterprise that is supporting the education system, not only in Rwanda but in Africa, through creating high quality stories, content, and support materials for education. I started this about 9 years ago, really with the passion to create a dent, just contribute in the education system in the country, because I really thought that our education system was lacking. It still has quite a bit of challenges, and we really wanted to see what's possible if we put our heart into it. It really wasn't a whole planned thing. It was very much an after work project that was mostly volunteering basis, and with luck, with chance, with mentorship, it became what it became today, and I am very grateful. So that's really what it is in a nutshell. I am also an author. I have my own podcast called Become Your Best Self. and I am very passionate about creating resources for entrepreneurs and specifically women. So I really try to create as much as possible for women.
Great. I believe you have touched on what your journey looked like as a young African woman. And as you have shared with us, that entrepreneurship was not always your plan. So, thus far, do you think you have had anyone who has been mentoring you in this journey? Do you have any background in the entrepreneurial world? Or how did you exactly
No,
find yourself?
I did not have any background in entrepreneurship whatsoever. Um, it's something that really just, like I said, was mostly luck. So it was mostly something that I had no control over. It grew, and I had to learn as I went. So yes.
Great. So, as an entrepreneur who started your journey pretty young, do you believe you're doing what you would like to be doing?
Um, that's very interesting as a question. I am doing part of what I would like to be doing. I think the more you do, the more you want to do, the more you notice, the more you learn. And I think we should have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. And if you have the mindset of like, I was going to be a doctor from the time I was 9 and now that's what I am, I think that can be quite limiting because the world is immense, and there's quite a lot of opportunities. So I think the core is necessary, is the core of what you're doing similar to what you've always wanted to do, or do you find that you fit in the core? Yes. And then you keep adding, right? You keep adding. Now I'm doing a lot of work with entrepreneurship, using my experience as an entrepreneur myself. I'm using that to build and create more resources. I'm creating things for women because I'm a woman myself. Like, so I can't just be like, I wanted to be an author when I was 11. I'm an author, that's all. I think that's quite fixed, and I'm trying to welcome a bit more of a growth mindset.
Very interesting for you to touch on mindset and the growth mindset and all that. But what have been your challenges so far? How have you graced them? What challenges do you perceive in the future?
Challenges so far. I mean, it's really always consistent growth, right? I think growth it takes a lot of facets, and it really teaches you a lot about yourself. I think entrepreneurship has been my own therapy session to learn what have been my insecurities, what have been my weaknesses as a leader, as a colleague, as someone to work with. I noticed a lot of my personality that I need to change, that I need to improve. So growing and making sure that I stay an authentic human being. How do you invest in being a good leader without being a dictator or someone who's incredibly mean or inconsiderate? But also, how do you make sure that people are delivering? You know, if you know, like, what is that balance? And leadership always kind of kicks me in the butt because there's always a trick balance. Do you want to team, or do you want to or do you want to push them to the limit? Like, what is the balance? So I'm currently learning that. And then another challenge is, of course, we're in Africa, the purchasing power is quite low. It's not as high as the rest of the world. So how do you create the growth that you want in a market that's not as quick, right? So that's another challenge. The challenge for the future is with the advancements of AI and all the digital growth that we're all seeing. How does the different sectors become affected? How does education become affected? And how do we respond to it differently? Because it is going to be different. We will not be having or running the companies or even hiring the same way that we hired in the past, right? Like, if people are using ChatGPT to enter their interviews. How do you actually learn that this is a capable human being, or they just used ChatGPT? Like how? So there's different challenges that are coming about, but we have to keep learning. We have to keep being open to possibilities. Yeah.
Okay, so just to shoot over the next questions to my co-host, Precious.
Hi, Dominique. It's really great to have you on board. In line with my other co-host, CYRWA, I would like to ask that we talk about the imposter syndrome, like the all self-doubt in mindset, skills, and all. How were you able to overcome it? As if you had it at one point in your journey as an entrepreneur, could you share with us your experience of in the imposter syndrome and how you were able to overcome it, because we would really learn from it. Thank you.
I mean, I have imposters. I had it this morning, or maybe even 5 minutes ago, when the internet was acting up and I was wondering if it was my laptop. So I don't think necessarily that you get over imposter syndrome. I think my personal mantra is that you just do it scared. You just do it scared. There's never going to be a time where you're not scared. I mean, for some people, maybe, some people are really blessed out there. But for me, if I'm scared, I will do it. I will still find a way to do it. But also realistically, I am very grateful that I have a good support system that gives me the right advice. They know when I need to cry, or I need to just like vent, right? And I vent a lot. I think as an entrepreneur, allowing yourself to just be like, oh my God, is a really, really good thing, because you are forced on the outside to look like you've got it together. You are really forced, right? You have to always be in a pitching mode. And that can really ruin your mental health. Like, I love talking about that because it's the truth, right? So if you don't have a place in the forest somewhere where you can go and scream, then it's going to really ruin your mental health. So I have good friends, I have a good community around me that is like, oh my God, did you see it? And then we, cry if we need to, or even celebrate, right? And then I have, of course, family. But really, in terms of imposter syndrome, we have to realize also women, especially, like, I don't think there's an African culture that that's been like, oh my God, women should do it and go out there. No, like, women were in the kitchen. It's not even African, it's everywhere, right? Where women were told to be quiet, to be seen, to not be heard. So men have had a lot of, like, a couple of steps ahead to have, in terms of confidence, in terms of like all these things that we're teaching ourselves, hopefully with mentorship and help. But there's a lot that we were not culturally taught. If as growing up, if I expressed my thoughts, they would say, oh, here comes a little girl that talks a lot. And now I talk for a living. But no one would have seen it. They saw it they saw it as like a horrible thing. Like, really, like, that's not good. As a girl, you can't be too curious. You can't be climbing trees. You can't have ideas. You should just cook. So give yourself the grace to understand that this is not something that we were shown, that was modeled as women at all. Like, if we maybe, like, it's now that it's happening. So little girls that are growing up now, that's what's happening, right? But not us. Like, when you were 2 years old, it was like, oh my God, this little girl, you need to to keep her down. So the imposter syndrome is going to come back always. And how do you build a good relationship with it? Because also, imposter syndrome can also help you in a healthy way. Maybe not, but like, how do you translate that into humility, right? How do you say, you know what? It can be better. Like, if I feel like a document is looking very stupid, maybe that gives me the courage to look again. And I think that's been why women have been proven to, have quite a bit of, just a little add-on. If you have a woman accountant, there's a lot of conversations that women accountants are much better because they're really just keen and double checking. Maybe that's connected, I don't know. But using that in a positive, like, how do you learn to create a balance with that imposter syndrome that in the end will help you? But then have a mantra, do it scared, fail upwards, like fail, get up, fail, get up, fail. If I hadn't failed 9 years ago, we would definitely not be having this conversation at all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. From your profile, we saw that you've really been able to, charge up in this patriarchal society as an entrepreneur. You've been able to make a name for yourself in the corridors of entrepreneur. So I want to ask, standing here today, what are the impacts you look to create in the entrepreneurial space? Could you tell us some of them, the impact you look to create in the entrepreneurial space? Thank you.
The main impact that we're looking to create is to re-dignify African storytelling. That's the number one, right? Growing up personally, that's not maybe everyone's experience. You would watch a movie, anyone that was Black was either a slave or a gangster or a janitor. That was it. Growing up, that was it. There was no Black princess. There was no Black rich woman. There was nothing. Like, you were a gangster or in the ghetto, or some Nigerian movies, Nollywood kind of helped us to have some rich people that were Black, but internationally, Black people were really misrepresented. And to add to that, Africans, if you remember the UNICEF videos with flies and just horrible things. My first impact is just to contribute to retelling the African story in a beautiful, positive, inspiring way. So children grow up just kind of feel more excited about being African, just more excited about being here, just looking the way we look, have the hair that we have the everything, right? So that's the first. The second one, of course, is employment. The more we grow, the more people we will employ. The more people we'll employ, the more people will get out of poverty. So that's the second dent. The third dent is really to support women, to make sure that there's lots more women who are at the forefront of economic advancement. So they're making the money they want to make. They are living in the spaces they want to live, and they just have the stuff they want to have.
Okay, thank you for that. Before I hand over the mantle, I'd like to ask again, oftentimes they say women can't have it all, with the old patriarchal society that the world is revolving around. They said women can't have it all. So I'd like to ask, I know you've mentioned something about it when we were talking about your biggest challenge, but I want to re-echo it now. How are you able to balance your personal life with your whole business life? How were you able to do it? Because it's really, really difficult if you look at things. So how were you able to balance your personal growth and then your business life together?
I guess you just do it. There's no choice. You just get to balance it. You gotta do it. I think women are not expected to be in this space, right? I've never heard in a podcast or a panel or a speech work-life balance being asked to a man. How do you manage to be a dad and an entrepreneur, right? They don't ask this to men. They ask them, how do you manage to make money? They ask them, how are you investing? They don't ask them, how are you being a dad? Because women are not, this is not a table that was created for women by the system. We brought our own chairs and everyone is still looking at us like, oh my God, what are you doing here? How are you managing to be in the kitchen? Because that's what we want you to do since you're also here. Like, how are you managing? Like, we're not seeing you, you know, so that's how that question has been framed over the years. And I think every time I hear that question is because it's from the belief that we do not have what it takes to be here. And I think it's a matter of pushing back and be like, you know what, we do have what it takes, right? We do have what it takes to have the friend. How come men do it, right? Yes, maybe men don't have as much hormonal ups and downs as we do, because obviously biology is a thing that exists, but that also is something that we've learned to overcome. It's not like they didn't expect us to deal with our hormones in the kitchen anyway. So I think the first thing is believing that we are now here. We are now here. It's not going to change. It's not going to change that we are here. And also, like, you know, there's a lot of resources that we have now. You can outsource a lot of the stuff that you have, right? Like, if you don't, we're very grateful and lucky these days to have things that can be outsourced. So let's say you don't want, you're not particularly very good at cooking. You know, can you outsource that to someone else? Even your partner, your husband, or whoever, and you say, you know, I'm better at making money. Can you take care of this? And I think in Africa, it's still a trouble to have those kinds of conversations. Can you even outsource that to an external person? There's lots of things at work that I'm not very good at, like, you know, Excel, numbers. I'm not very good at numbers. I shouldn't do everything myself. So I learned to outsource. I learned to ask for help. I learned we have a community. If today you have a kid and you have a really important meeting, you know, can you drop them off at your mom's or your aunt's or your someone, you know? And I think one of the power that women can bring to the table to create even more balance is how much of the community are you inviting into your entrepreneurial or your business journey to be able to run it well? How much of it? Because I think men outsource all of that to their wives. They're like, you take care of all of this. I'll just work, 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 work. Women can't yet do that. They can't just be like, oh, hey, husband. So, you know, you bring in different people, the community around you, the friends around you, to do some of the heavy lifting. And asking for help is really good. Asking for professional help is also good. I am a very massive advocate of mental health, demystifying therapy. If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. Talk to a professional. Get mentors, get friends. So, like, for me, my balance has come to learning that I'm a human being. If today it's not happening, I'm not a business. I'm a human being before anything else. So if it's not happening today, you know what? I will just go back to bed. That's it. Like, believe in taking a nap. I believe in taking a nap as a strategy. You know, just go home, watch a movie, and just it's done. You know, the world will not end if doctors can rest and people die, like they are important. You're not going to rest because you have what? You have books to sell? No, don't sell those books. So living that is very helpful. That's how I keep a balance, hopefully. Hopefully.
Thank you very much. Over to you, CYRWA.
I think you're muted.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So, Dominique, one of the things that make you outstanding as an entrepreneur is that you began your business with $300. Tell us how you got to six figures.
Oh yeah. So I began my business with a few savings that I had from my 2 months worth of a salary from my first job, second job, something. Well, how did I get to six figures? I think I just decided that I was tired of not getting to six figures. I think it was exciting to see what life will become if we actually did get to six figures. I think it was exciting to me. It's very awkward to talk as I look at myself, but one of the things that happened to me, I would say, after COVID is really taking time to, during COVID, not after, taking time to think about my life. You know, everybody was indoors. No one was like, it was time to think. There was no time to do anything else. And I really just understood that I have a mindset that was really rooted in low self-esteem. And I'm a huge advocate. I'm very transparent about this conversation. If you look at my LinkedIn posts and things like that, I'm very transparent about really sharing from the truth of entrepreneurship. So I took time to think about my life and myself, and I noticed that my entire personality was more or less rooted in low self-esteem, and that has been driving the company as well, because you can't separate, you know, and have low self-esteem at home and then high self-esteem at work. So then I was like, okay, I need to surround myself with people who have a higher self-esteem and who are achieving more. And I took time to write down what does success looks like for me. What does wealth look like for me? What does it look like? Even just being curious, right? Because I also was not going to move from 4 figures in revenue to 6 figures. That's obviously not possible, right? And then, you know, so I remember the first, in 2020, I think we used to sell about 75 to 100 books a month. And we were happy. You know, we paid rent on time in the building we had at the time. We also, I guess, paid salaries on time, which was very important to me, the types of salary that we had, right? So it was very important for me to just pay things on time. I didn't understand things like debt, good debt, bad debt, things like that, because, you know, fear. I remember telling my team, you know what, why don't we just play and try to reach 500 books per month? And that would have been, you know, times 5, you know, or even times 6, because, you know, we were between 75 and 100. And of course, they freaked out. There was a lot of fear around it. They were like, oh my God, this is impossible. One of them quit because they really didn't think it was possible. I also didn't think it was possible. I was just like, you know what? If we root for 500, hopefully we will fall at 250, which I'm fine with, right? So I just wanted to like up and find the balance. And from 2021, I'm really excited to say that we never had a month that we were under 500 in that year. It just didn't happen that we were not meeting our target. It just didn't happen. And then from that year, July, we were starting to look at 750, 800. And I was like, when we decide something happens. So like, why don't we decide again? So then I called my team again, and obviously they really thought that I was going through some crazy stuff. They were like, what are you drinking? Because this is not realistic. You know, of course, there's a whole conversation. Anyway, so I called them and I'm like, you know what? Why don't we try 1,000 per month? 1,000, you know, what do you guys think? Of course, they were like, no. Because of course it came with a lot of exhaustion, and I think I didn't even give them time to rest and be like, oh, let's have 1 month of 100. No, I was just like, you know what, if we were able to do 750, we can go up. And we started doing that, and we said, who do we need to become? And it was very important for me to decide, who do we need to become? What kind of person in Rwanda? And I think there's something I believe in now that's called integration. Integration is, you first, of course, tell yourself that story in your head. And then you need to meet someone in real life who's achieving that in real life. So like, and it comes in everywhere. Like if you say, I want to be a really good parent, then go and meet someone who is really being a good parent and look at them physically, right? So, or if you say, I wanna have a healthy relationship, then you gotta go and meet someone who is currently having a healthy relationship and who is in love. You gotta do that integration situation. I don't know. And I think it's very important. So I started meeting people who, I call it the ceiling and floor. So my ceiling, the thing I think is impossible for me, I needed to meet people who that's their floor. So I needed to meet people who make that kind of money per month, not even per year, just to see what kind of conversations are they have, how do they live? Because for me, they didn't exist. And because they didn't exist, it was not going to be possible for me to do that. So, I started asking around, like, can I have mentors? But I was very specific. My mentors had to be people who are making like $1 million or $500,000 and above. Not people who are also making $5,000 more than me, or no. It had to be really like people whose lives I can't dream of. So I started driving around these fancy neighborhoods. I think you guys are based in Kigali, right? You know these neighborhoods. I started driving just to be like, who affords these kinds of houses? What do they do? And that really kind of creates a seed in me, right? And for me, what I also learned is when you meet such people, you need to remember that you also have value. Because I think sometimes we are like, oh my God, I'm just an intern, like, I'm sorry, oh my God, like almost like you have nothing to contribute. But maybe they're making $1 million, but maybe they're just not creative. They just need more creativity in their life. So tune in to seeing where is it that they also need me. So I feel more or less like an equal. You are superior financially, but maybe I'm superior at being a friend. I have good, like humans are human. They always need something. They always feel like they're not good enough at something. Maybe they are on a weight loss journey, and for you, gym has been amazing and very easy. Maybe there's so many things that when you come to the table with realization that there's some things So for me, it was really that I knew how to be creative. And them, they knew how to make money. So then they started talking to me and observing them. They don't talk. It doesn't even occur to them. It doesn't even pass their mind to work for under like $500,000. They don't think of it. Maybe the way you would not even think about doing a gig for 100 francs, like 1 cent. There's people in Kigali, in the village, who will work for that money and they will be very happy. But for you, it doesn't occur to you. It's never crossed your mind this year to work for 500 francs, right? To work a full month for it's never even crossed your mind. For them also, it's like that, but for a lot more money, right? So I started hearing just like the fact that it doesn't occur to us. So what happened to me is we came back to the office and we said, okay, we need to rewrite our prices. We need to reframe our quality, because now you have seen them. You've seen this person called Sarah Bell. You've seen this person called Precious. You can now ask yourself, what kind of books can Precious buy? They're no longer like a non-existent. You see, I don't know if you're understanding what I'm trying to say, because they were now real humans to me, and I have seen their houses. Like you see their bookshelves, definitely not my bookshelf. You've seen them, and you're like, what kind of book will look good on their shelves? And so that's how we started. But like the more you rub with them, I rubbed, of course, with people who make like Jesus, money that I've never even thought of. And that really helped me. So we came back, we redesigned our strategy. We started approaching massive organizations with more confidence. I remember writing our proposals this year, right? We wrote proposals to a lot of different companies. And it was so hard the first time, but then it became easier. It just became easier until now. I'm forgetting, and I'm very grateful, I'm forgetting the kind of person we were before COVID. Like, it doesn't even, okay. We used to have books that cost 1,500 Rwandan francs. I just don't even know. Like, when someone tells me how does a book, like, we don't even remember. So you need to kind of cross path with people you want to be like, sit with them in natural environments, not like, oh, hi, like, find ways to sit with them in natural environments, see how they lead that life. And then the more you do it, the more you get inspired, and really allow yourself to get inspired by literally the ceiling. Think about, what is my ceiling? What is unattainable for me today? Because if I stand up right now in my office, there's no way I will touch my ceiling, right? Think about your ceiling in your life, and then think about what people in this world, that ceiling of yours is their floor. They step on it, they spill water on it, they spit on it, right? They do whatever they want. It's their floor. Like, they don't even care. And that will be your middle ground. And then you keep doing that. The more you do that exercise, the more things will be possible. So also strategically, of course, I've taken a few courses. How do you build a lead traffic customer basis? But that's also only possible because I was challenged to go up. Yeah. It's fun. It's very fun. It's very fun. Making money, by the way, guys, it's very fun.
It sure does seem fun and insightful. I am going to adopt the mantra, do it scared. And of course, adopting the whole strategy on ceilings and floors. So tell us, Dominique, what are the skills that you currently possess that have been instrumental in your journey?
Ceiling and floor is a very beautiful skill that I possess. Just knowing to observe people. And I think one of the biggest skill that I didn't possess before this season, so this season for me is about 2 years now, is not looking at people. And I used to look at people and be like, oh my God, they're so above me. Oh my God, like, oga, right? Like, don't talk to them. Now I just really get curious, like, how did they get there? Like, oh my God, like, I would drive by Vision City. You guys are based in Rwanda, right?
Yeah.
More or less. I would drive in Vision City, instead of being like, oh my God, oh, other kids are sorry. I would just be like, how did they get here? They were kids. I know for a fact that they wore diapers at some point in their lives. They wore diapers, or they go to poop. We all know that they do it, right? So some parts of them is human. So instead of approaching them with very low self-esteem, I just started getting curious, and that curiosity has really helped me. The other skill that I think I have is I am a dreamer, and that sounds very cliche, but I will wake up in the morning and be like, what if this was possible? And I will write it down. Like, I have even in my office right now, I have 3 journals. And I mean, like, even now, like, I write things down all the time. Oh, by the way, shout out to ALU. We made these, like, I dream and I write things down, and I have the task to go back and say what came to fruition. And like, crossing a line has been so much fun. I remember, I still have the journal where I went from 75 to 100, 100 to 500, and just crossing that line makes me want to dream bigger. And I'm not afraid of asking for help. I think that's also a massive skill. Like, I don't think there's anyone who's above me or below me. It might take me a minute I'm very shy, I'm very introverted. I don't like, I'm not very outgoing naturally. But like, if I say, okay, you know what, I would love to meet Sarah Bell and learn from her, I might not do it tomorrow, but I will do it in like maybe a couple of months. Or so I love that there's a possibility that there's no one that I can't reach. They will always teach me something. And so I think those are really great skills that I attribute my success to. Yeah.
Dominique, shout out to you as well. Of course, that Navigator's notebook is one of my favorite notebooks. A very beautiful.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
So looking at you right now, from where I'm standing, it's the way you looked at other people and told yourself, how do I get here? So tell us, Dominique, for me and any other girl who is looking at you right now and wondering, how do I get to where she is? Can you tell us something?
Absolutely. I think the very first thing that you want to do is invest in self-awareness, which is take time to write, like, what is my ceiling today? Like, what is it that I feel, oh my God, is completely unattainable? What is my ceiling today? And the more you are, it's external, it's no longer just in your head and it's out in the world. Take real steps to make sure that that happens. Okay, who now lives here in my ceiling? Who lives here? You know, who lives here? Who has fun here? And who for who is this normal? And approach them. Don't approach them to be like, oh my God, give me money. Approach them to just be like, you know what? Can I offer you a coffee? Can I, and also come to the table with abundance, you know, like, a lot of times I have a lot of students who call me and they're like, oh, you know, like, can I meet with you? Can I, like, why should I meet with you? Like, I don't have time. What do you have that you've studied me or you've done something that now by the time you've approached me, it's harder for me to say no. And if you learn that skill, you will be absolutely unstoppable. And the earlier you learn it, of course, the better, right? But study the person. Okay, so Dominique has posted a few things about this and this and that and that, mental health, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then you say something like, you know, there's a cafe that has, like, I don't know, yoga sessions on the side. I saw it. I thought about you, and I would really love to offer you a juice in this place. You can check it out. They will come. It doesn't have to be a juice at the Marriott, but you've picked on something they like, because every day, like, we receive a bunch of people who are, you know, and I'm still very, 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 very low. You know, like, there's people who make 6 figures a month, right? I'm still absolutely very low. So how do you approach these kinds of people who are even much, much higher than me? You don't just, like, waste time and be like, please, like, give me, no. So what can you offer? It might be small. It might be a handwritten note, by the way. It might be whatever it is. Come at it with abundance and learn how to ask to learn from someone, and learn how to come to the table with a way to relieve their burden. My first advisor, who really, really, really helped Imagine We, she was an Australian woman. I just asked her, I said, you know what, these are my skills. I am good with speaking. I'm really good with children. I'm really good with, like, design. I really would love 1 hour of your time every month. Is there something in these skills that you would need for me to do? It turned out she needed an MC. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to MC your event in exchange for 1 hour of your time. I'm going to, because then you've relieved the burden. Of course, she has money to pay, like, the MCs, but she also, part of her, she wants to believe in you as well, because you've packaged it well, right? And so, like, what are you offering? How are you offering it? How are you packaging yourself? Not just by speaking well, ALU students, you guys know how to speak, but also by giving of yourself. Give of yourself. I have these skills. I would like to, I have, I don't know, 10,000 followers on social media. And, I know that you're in the middle of launching a product. Can I post this to my followers in exchange for an hour of your time? Who will say no to that? You know what I mean? Because you've come with effort, not, I would like, no. No. So learn how to do that. And the more you learn that with different types of people, it'll be easy to talk to the first lady of the country and be like, because you've learned you've learned what worked, you've learned what didn't work as a young kid. So don't take things for granted. Don't pump yourself up too much. Come to the table with, can I give you this? And I need this from you, and try it as many times as possible. Yeah.
Great. So perhaps for me, as someone who believes in the future, and for all of us who would like to know where we're going to see you next, where do you see yourself in the next 5 and perhaps 15 years to come?
Probably retired.
Wow.
I'm working on my retirement. So I will be home. You will see me at home. But in terms of the business, you will see the business in Kenya. We're really looking at either Nigeria. Kenya is confirmed for now, but maybe hopefully, let me read. I have a list. Ethiopia or okay. We were actually talking about this today, so it's still fresh in my notebook. Yes, so we have Tanzania, Mozambique, and Botswana for some branches, and maybe South Africa. So that's the plan for the next 5 years.
I'll shoot back to my co-host, Precious.
Okay, it's good having you on board once again. We've heard that your company gives back to the community. So could you give us some ways on how you do that? How do you get to give back to the community?
I love talking to women. I love mentoring women. So one of my main ways to give back to the community is to make sure that there's a woman behind me who is being lifted. So we have a community of women, young women entrepreneurs who are between, who are still trying to make their first $100, really, who need these skills, right? They for them, the ceiling is $100, which is earning that money by yourself is massive, right? So I really by no means think that's a small feat, because I've been there. So what kind of advice do I give them? What kind of, I also am massive. I love creating resources. If you go to my personal website, there's just stuff, right? There's free journals, there's things, just, and people who meet me, they will know what kind of AI do I use to create customers. I just give my things because I think it doesn't serve anyone to be the only one somewhere, right? If you get super rich, you still would love to have some neighbors, right? So we all need to get rich together. I believe that I want women to get rich together. It's not something that you want to do by yourself. So I give anything that I find, I write about it. We love going to schools, especially underprivileged schools. We are building now a digital library for young authors between 10 to 18 years old. And so far we've collected over 191 stories that will be edited and shared and will be up to be shared with the world. That's very exciting for me. We have 17 more schools to go in the next 8 months. So we want to train 2,000 children to become authors, become writers. That's one of the serious ways that we give back to community. And then we're massive on book donations. So we donate books to schools. We've helped equip 27 to 30 libraries. The last time I counted was 27 libraries. We've done about 27 to 30 libraries in the country, giving them between 100 to 250 books each time. So kids can be exposed and read. Again, my belief is that you do not need to rise alone. It makes no sense to rise alone. Yeah.
That's a whole lot of giving back to the community. You're really trying. So my next question is, what will you tell the young girl that looks up to you? What's your advice to her? If you were able to go back, like if you're able to see your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? Like just a young versions of girls, what would you tell them to inspire them, to put them in a journey through? What will you tell them?
Younger girls. What would I tell them? I would say the first thing I would tell them is that they have time. Yeah, there's time, guys. Like this whole thing of like, oh my God, 30 under 30, 20 under 20, 5 under 5. Like, no, there is time. There is time. Don't push your own limits. Follow your curiosity. Yes, do all the things I said, meet people. The younger you do it, the better, but don't beat yourself up because you're not in Times Magazine by the time you're 25. That is what social media is lying to us. It's lying to us, right? I would say, please, guys, remember you have time. Remember to take care of yourself. Remember to have hobbies. The world is becoming very capitalistic. 6 figures, 7 figures, 10 figures. Man, and it's very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. Remember, you have time. I didn't need to make 6 figures this year. It was fun for me to say, is it possible? Is it possible? And when it became possible, like 5 months in, I'm very grateful. Then it boosted my confidence. But did I have to lose my mind and be close to like mental breakdowns? No, you don't need to do that. There's no rush. You can be 40 under 40. You can be 70 under. Like, allow yourself to use the time that has been given to you by God, the universe. The other advice I would say is just never judge a book by its cover. I've met people who just, oh my God, actually just remove judgment out of the book altogether. You can always, always learn from someone. If you don't have time today, admit that it's because you don't have time, but don't feed the idea of, what precious, I don't know, she's a student, I can't learn. No. As soon as you start having that kind of mindset, you have robbed yourself of so much knowledge. And I always say this to like even high schoolers. You could be seated next to the next president and you're bullying them. You're absolutely, you don't know life tomorrow, right? You can be, today I can be the 6-figure lady and Precious is you're still a student. Tomorrow you can be something different. Like, if I disrespect you, I've robbed myself of a friendship, of mentorship, of something. And you've robbed yourself of I don't know, of an opportunity. So like, there's no one who's under us, there's no one who is above us, right? And believe that. I don't know how you're going to train your mind for that to be natural. The third thing is be comfortable with money. Be comfortable with money. List down, if you want to journal, what are my current beliefs about money? Oh, people who make money are gross, are killers, are racist. Whatever it is, just write that big title. And then under it, list the things, and then work through it. What do I believe? Women don't like to talk about money, and that makes you disrespect your talent. If someone said, oh, your makeup is beautiful, or like, look at Cerebel, her dreadlocks, oh my God, amazing. And then you say, it's just a small thing. Do not underestimate your stuff, right? How do you learn humility but with confidence? How do you marry those two from a very young age? I would say we always underestimate ourselves, especially with money, especially with money. We say, that's a small piece that I did, even if it's a bracelet. Reframe that story and see, how can I teach myself to speak about this as highly as possible, but with humility, So I would say those things. I also believe in vision boarding. I don't know who in the audience believes in that stuff. That works a lot, right? My vision boards, that's a whole podcast by itself, has come to fruition so well that next year's vision board, I don't know what I'm going to put on there. I do not know what I'm going to put on there, but it's going to be wild. So put your vision somewhere you can see and look at it every day and say, how close am I to get to that dream?
Wow. At this point, I just have to say wow, because wow, it's interesting that we were just talking about vision boards yesterday, and getting to hear that you had a vision board and you're here right now is very instrumental to me and most of us. So maybe just to give this chance to anyone who wants to ask a question from the audience, maybe, or in the chat box. Okay, so Precious, you can take it.
What did you say? It was cracking.
You can take them. You
I
can
didn't
take
hear
back.
you.
You can take back this.
Okay, thank you. It's good once again having you on board. I don't know how many times I'll say it, because it's really good hearing you speak and then share your views. Let other girls and women out there listen to you. It's really good hearing you speak. I also like to ask you another advice. We need another advice from you. So, what would you advise women who are still lost in the fear-driven circle of not wanting to start out as entrepreneurs? What's your advice to them? Maybe fear that they are going to lose their money or anything. What's your advice to them?
What's my advice to women who are still my head. I don't want to do that. Where that's coming. Do we have someone who has two devices? I think it's done. Okay. Yes. So my advice to women who are still stuck in the fear cycle. I feel for them. I would say awareness is the first thing. Write or talk it out. What am I afraid of? What I'm afraid. Some women, they're in abusive marriages. Some women, they have unsupportive friends. Like, just be aware of what it is. Let it not be something that's just hovering in your life. When you're aware of that, then you can ask yourself, how can I change that? If the answer for you is, my husband will not be supportive of my venture, right? Then you have something. It's real. It's a real issue. And then you can say, okay, maybe I will ask my bank to help me open an account on the side. Something, right? Whatever it is, I can ask advice. Maybe I will divorce, maybe whatever it is, but like, when it's out of your head and out in real life, there is a solution. For young girls, I would say also, right, like once you've listed, like, you know, my friends are not supportive, I don't know if my idea is good enough, I don't have initial capital, whatever it is, write it down, and then you can start answering those questions. How can I solve that problem? How can I solve that problem? If it's not solvable, then ask a mentor, like, I've written these things down, can you help me out, right? So whenever we have these chances of having these podcasts or live events, you know what kind of questions you want to ask because you are aware of them from ahead of time. It's not something that's surprising you. And then be angry. So one of the things I believe is the emotional chart and how it follows each other. So the highest one is love, and then there's peace, and then there's this, and at the bottom, there is, I think, fear is the least one. Above fear, there's jealousy. And then above jealousy, there's anger or something, right? So for someone who is out of fear into jealousy, it might not look like it, but they've actually grown. You know, so be jealous of some people. Look at these people on social media and be like, oh my God, I wish I had that. But then ask yourself, the second question is, what can I do to have it? Don't just scroll and be like, oh my God, I wish. That jealousy is, and then after that, there's going to be anger. Why don't I have that? And then say, what can I do to have that? Don't ask half questions. And the person who is in anger is higher than the person who is, in terms of mental work, they're higher than the person who is into fear. And then the person who's into, so like, how do you follow your own charts of emotions to use them to track yourself, Of course, you want to reach at peace and contentment and all that good stuff, but it's a step. You can't go from fear to action. That's not true. You go to fear, from fear to jealousy, to anger, to curiosity. Some people can jump, you know, because they have good support. They can really jump. But be proud of yourself if, you know, you've even just arrived at anger today and you're like, I'm angry that I'm poor, I'm angry that I can't afford school fees. But the second part of that question, because that's an incomplete question, is what can I do to do that other thing, to afford my school fees, to travel, to buy myself a new phone, whatever it is, what can I do? That's always got to be the second half of your questions. I hope that answers you.
Yeah, that does answer our question. So from the audience, we have a question from Ashley. She's asking, was there a time you were about to lose it all with the business? And if yes, how did you handle it?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. There was a time that I was about to lose it all, yes. That was about the second or third year into the business. I didn't have the best finance management. And I was very trusting. That things were going well. Turned around, there was nothing in the account. Well, there was something. There was like maybe 10% left. And we were really going to close. And I think that's the one time that I really had to ask for help. And I said, you know, the office we were at, for me, I was paying rent using my voice for voiceovers in documentaries. I was like, I can't afford rent. What can I do? And they said, you know what? We need voiceovers. Can you do it for free as exchange for you to have this rent space? And then they said yes. And then for someone else, I would say, what can you need? So I did side hustles for a while until we got back on our feet. But the fear of losing it all, at least getting there, was good, because after that, when you felt that fear and you've overcome it, I think it's easier to handle it when you feel it again. And if I had not, I would still be in the shadow of being afraid of feeling that feeling. So we exchanged a lot. We you know, and of course, you know, you probably know COVID hit a bunch of us for a while. We had to, you know, freeze salaries for a long time. Coming back was a little bit hard in terms of making revenue. So, you know, I think that's everyone that has gone through that for COVID. Yeah.
Okay, so another question. What are some skills that an upcoming entrepreneur can leverage to be able to become successful? And what sector would you advise them to venture in? So the sector and the skills.
Success, networking. Your network is your net worth. I think that's a very cliche thing that people say, but it's very true. So learn how to network, learn how to do something called cold networking. Cold networking is how do you learn to approach people who have no idea that you exist, but how do you learn to do it well? Cold emailing, cold calling, cold, even in person, cold networking is one of the skills that will save you, absolutely save you. Cold emailing has by far, I think, out of the 6 figures that were dancing around that we made in the last, I guess, 5 months, 70% of it was cold, right? We emailed ALU, said, hey, you know what? I used some weird software to create a mock-up. We said, you know, we can make notebooks for you guys. That was back in 2021. We can make notebooks for you guys. There was no notebook. It did not exist. We had never made that notebook before. Yes, we've made books, blah, blah, blah. And we said, you know, hey. They said, oh my God, yes, we've made notebooks for ALU since 2021. No one in ALU knew us. Of course, eventually we had lunch with Veda, Sunase, and that was nice and it was beautiful and we kind of like got to know each other. But in the beginning, it was just like, hey, how are you? You know, how do you learn then to do that? If you can do that, there's nothing. You will never, ever, ever lack money in your bank account, ever. Another example is and taking rejection. We wrote to the First Lady's office, hey, how are you? And it's a skill, you know, you need to obviously learn online. How do you phrase these emails, even text messages? How do you frame them? How do you frame them in a way that does not waste people's times, that it's direct, even on a call? Hi, this is my name. Is this a good time? If someone is mentally ready to receive your call, then they will be more likely to absorb your information. If they say no, just say, hi, thank you very much. When is a good time to call you back, right? And then they've made you a promise. But cold calling, cold emailing, cold networking, it's a skill. Even in person, you know, you say, hi, you know, those are some beautiful dreadlocks that you have. How are you? And they say, oh my God, thank you. And then you've opened something. How do you do that on email? How do you do that on phone? How do you do that on Zoom? Those are all skills, and those skills are literally it. There's nothing else you will need. You can sell, there's people who sell, there's a guy who sold a banana for $1 million in a museum in the UK. You guys probably know that, right? A banana for $1 million. That's it. One real, not even a fake banana, a real. So if you learn that skill, no one will stop you. That is number one. The second one is get on the AI boat. Learn what are the AIs doing. Who am I with AI? How do I use it? How does it not use me? What sector? There's people making trillions, by the way, selling anything really. They're selling papers. They're selling ideas. These guys now these days, they're selling dancing for healing. Anyone is selling something. There's no such thing as like a sector. Obviously, choose something that's more authentic to you. and then learn the skills around it. There are sectors, of course, that absorb more people, right? So the digital sector, if you have passion around that, jump on that board. I would say for me personally, right now, I'm learning to not have inventory. I have boxes in my office everywhere that I don't want to have, right? So how do I move my stuff more digital? And digital things, people are more used to phones, but there's like 80% of Rwanda that doesn't spend time on a phone, right? And that's a lot of Africa, that's a lot of Asia, right? So how do you create things? One of my favorite, 100% favorite entrepreneurs in Rwanda is called Sina Gerard. He has one of the brand that are known is the Akabanga hot sauce. I don't know if you guys know Akabanga. Even Burna Boy drinks it, so that's good. The thing about Akabanga is if you go to an island in Rwanda, to an island far, 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 very far, and you say, hey, do you know Akabanga? They will say yes. An island that does not know these things of TikTok, and they will say yes. And if you come, of course, to Vision City and you say, do you know Akabanga? They will also say yes, right? So for me, what's more authentic to you is what will make you survive in the dark days when nothing is working. And it's also the one that's going to, if you couple it with the real other skills, that's what's going to give you a lucrative career. So do that.
Okay, so over to you, Precious.
I believe
I
we
don't
are
know if we
done.
still have more audience question.
No,
Or is
there's
this
no
everything?
more. We don't have any more questions. Thank you, ladies.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if you have anything else, like any question else to ask her, CYRWA? Do you have any other question to ask her?
I believe that has been our time.
Oh, okay. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, Dominique. I don't know if there's anything you want to share with the world, like anything you want people to know about your company or to be involved in your company, just anything. Is there anything you want to share with the world? Anything you want to say?
Sure. I think one thing I would share is that for young people who are we have an ambassador program. And basically, what that means is that whoever sells one of our products makes money. So if you have a network, if you have people who, if you're surrounded, for instance, students and people who are surrounded by people, that's a very easy way to make some extra cash by just saying, hey, imagine we selling this and this is the price. We give between 15 to 20% of each product that is sold, and we send that money right away on whatever, be it phone number and whatever the person uses and prefers to receive money. That's an opportunity that we give to a lot of young people that can cover from your nails all the way to rent. There's people now, we have ambassadors that sell 200 books for us per month, and they don't even need a salary anymore. And all they do is just, hey, Precious, do you like this book? Yes, buy it. Oh, okay, Precious bought the book. Can you pay me? And I think that's a very easy way for people to make money. If you want to get into it, definitely email me or slide in the DMs on LinkedIn, and I will pass you the information to be an ambassador. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Boys, in the contact with, how would they get your contact? How would the viewers get your contact? The emails, DMs, you can just
I
read
think
it
the
out for them.
easiest way right now, I'll just put my LinkedIn, which is my name, so that's easy. But my Instagram is, I just shared it with the private chat. You guys can share it with whoever else needs it. Um, Actually, can I join the chat? No, I can't. I don't seem to be able to join the public chat. But yeah, so I'm more. I wouldn't want to share my private information, but definitely reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and we can keep the conversation from there.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on board, Dominique. It's a pleasure once again. Over to you, CYRWA.
You're very well. Yeah.
Thank
you
you,
once again.
girls.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Take care. Go make
Take
some
care
money.
too. Thank you.
Yes,
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye.